Back out to the barn. Ollie got sprayed by a skunk last night, so he's not too interested in wandering around the woods. He's just sort of hanging tight. Aren't you, bud? Huh? Did you get sprayed last night? Yeah, it wasn't fun. So anyhow, we won't be grinding on the boat today. We won't be doing any fiberglass grinding. But to put the transom in, we are going to attempt to make some of the transom clamps that Captain Joe from FishbumpTV made. So we used some generic measurements looking at what he had, and we're going to tailor them down because obviously this boat's pretty small. But we're going to see what we can come up with. So here we go. We've only got about 24 inches of the transom in the back, I think. So we started off by drilling a 3-inch hole. And now all I'm trying to do is cut straight lines to slice out our middle section, which will slip down over the transom. One side will have a 2x4 screwed to it with the through bolts that go through to clamp the transom onto the boat itself. So let's see if we can do this without losing any fingers today. Now I've just made these out of some scrap plywood we had sitting around. So the dimensions, like I say, they're just a little fly as you go. I made the one side a little bit skinnier. That'll have the 2x4s screwed to it, so it'll be a little bit more reinforced. And since this side won't, I tried making that side a little bit wider. So just trying to balance out some strength. I don't know if it'll make a bit of difference, but always good to have a table saw, or at least some skills to use a table saw. Um, I know there's a lot of people nowadays with schools the way they are that a lot of schools I don't even think have shop class anymore, but I tell you, it gives you a good sense of, I guess, confidence that if you know how to use some tools, you can pretty much make whatever it is you need. So there's one. We'll have to router that out a little bit, smooth it up, but yeah, we'll have the 2x4s on this side. This will slip down over the transom. That ought to be plenty strong enough, I think, to do what we're doing. Now these all didn't turn out to be exactly the same size. Like I said, a lot of it's just built out of scrap that I had. Um, and I was trying to deal with Ollie that was sprayed with a skunk last night. So a couple of these measurements are off just a little bit. That's why I'm adjusting on the fly for each cut, but we'll get there. I know the joke always comes up about shop teachers and having all their fingers from usually table saw mishaps and such. Um, I know the two shop teachers that we had in high school, well, I guess junior high. I didn't even take wood shop in high school, but we had Joe Falsetta, great guy, taught us a lot, and Mr. Bob Cole. All of them still had their fingers. I even worked with when I worked down at Cadillac, I worked with a fella by the name of Bill Bullard, who was an industrial shop teacher downstate somewhere. And yeah, Bill had some stories too, but he still had all his fingers. So just go slow and think about what you're doing. There we go. So we got the frames cut. The next thing to do is going to be to cut the 2x4s to go down the side. Watch out, Allie. So again, this whole design, hi bud, this whole design was sort of fluid and changed as I was making them based on scrap and based on all the other things that were going on. Um, so the idea to, since the wood that I had wasn't as big as what Captain Joe had used on Fish Bump, so I had came up with the idea of shifting the thick side over to the side that doesn't have 2x4s on the fly, sort of. So the 2x4s that I had, obviously, we got to just trim them back a little bit. And then see how it fits. We'd cut them to length. Now we just need to cut them to the right width. Let's see what happens here. We use this as our push stick. Watch out, Bubs. I think I definitely need a new saw blade. Once again, we got the old Ford powering up the shop here. Really can't beat that deal. That might have been the screw. Yep, that one was a screw. Like I said, they're wood straps, so they look clean, but I guess I missed one. Okay, so we've got those cut. Now we need to figure out where our cross bolts go through, and we will head over to the drill press. So we've got the 2x4s all cut. I've got them marked, numbered in pairs for 6 clamps, and I have offset the through bolt locations by an inch or so, so there'll be a matched up pair, and try to spread the pressure out a little bit. Just a minute, Ollie. So let me see if we can go ahead and turn this around so you can see the drill press. Okay, so we've got the drill press set up. Doesn't look like we've got enough throw in the drill bit and the drill press to make it all the way through, so we will probably end up doing this in a couple rounds. Okay, so we've got the holes probably 3/4 of the way drilled through. We've got them started nice and straight. So I think what I'm going to do is just go chuck this up in a hand drill. It'll be a straight shot. We'll just pop them through the bottom, and then we'll be ready to glue and screw these onto the main part of the clamp. Okay, so we're just going to use the hand drill, and we're going to drill the rest of these out. Like I said, they're a started hole. We're going to be using a 5/16 threaded rod. So we're putting a 3/8 hole through just so it's got a little bit of room. It lines it right up. So then the 2x4 will have a T-nut tapped into one end, and that T-nut will allow the threaded rod to screw onto something, and as we put pressure against the board or against the transom, it'll push the clamp back, which will pull the other side against it, and we'll have a nice flat linear clamping surface. Or at least in theory, that's what we're doing. What's up, Ollie? What you doing out there? Let's not find any more skunks today. One was enough yesterday. Now, this transom's pretty short in this boat, so the clamps that are in the middle are pretty tight as far as the width between the holes. But if you wanted to use this on something else and the clamps are still big enough, it'll have a 24-inch reach. You could either drill new holes or just tap the T-nuts out and move them to new holes. But it's not it definitely doesn't have to be a one design, one-time use. If you need to tailor it to whatever you're working on, you can definitely change it around pretty easy. Again, on FishbumpTV, I've seen them use them quite a few times. I've seen a few other people use them. I saw one person had a video out there that they built their own, so I figured I'd go through the process here and see what we come up with. Okay, we're going to get the vacuum out, clean up some, and then we will go ahead and glue these 2x4s onto glue and screw them onto the main body. Okay, so we've got the pieces over here. We've got some glue. I'm going to try to keep it this simple. Let's try to just put a bead of glue down the center here. We'll put the clamp body down. Put another bead of glue. I don't think it's going to take much more than this. We will line these up with the clamp body. Just so they're even on the inside. Grab a screw. Obviously make sure we're not going through where we've got our bolt holes at. Flip it on this side, throw a couple in here. And there we go. We have a clamp body. We've got 6 semi-offset holes. The threaded rods will go through there. There'll be T-nuts here, and this will slip down onto the transom, tighten it up. Like I say, we're working on a pretty small boat, so you could pretty much size these however you wanted. Now it's just the old rinse and repeat and get enough of them done. Find our matching numbers. The lowest hole will go on the bottom. Just a minute, bud. Let's give this just a little bit of glue. A little bit on this one. Line them up again. Must have been the extra glue that's got this one sliding around a little bit. I think these are just like 2.5 inch deck screws. Nothing special. Again, just extra stuff I had sitting around. Okay, so that's 2 of them done. I will finish these up, and then I'll bring you back when we get the threaded rod and the T-nuts, put them together, and then we'll show you how they fit onto the transom. Okay, so what's up, Ollie? So here's an update on the transom clamps. It was pretty interesting. We got the threaded rods. I think we got them from Lowe's. Just had them do the free delivery to the house, so I didn't have to drive up to the store. These are about as straight as the 2x4s that you buy at Lowe's, so maybe that was one downfall that I didn't get to cherry pick through. Watch out, bud. You're standing right in the way. So we got our flange nuts JB welded on, so that gives us a little more surface area where it's pushing against the boat itself. We're going to mix up some more JB weld and get these nuts glued onto the end of the threaded rod. That's going to allow us just to use a little battery impact and run these things in and out. And then to use them, these will slip over the transom like this. So they'll lay flat there. And then on this side, we will be able to tighten these threaded rods up against the hull. And that will push against. It'll mush out our thickened epoxy between the two, and we will finally get our transom back in this boat. So anyhow, just wanted to wrap this up with putting the transom clamps together. Again, this was the description and the use that I saw of the clamps on FishbumpTV by Capt Joe. A great design, and looks like they're going to function exactly the way I need, and that'll get us one step closer to putting this boat together. So anyhow, thanks again for hanging out and watching this, and we will see you on the next step.